Welcome, property investors. This is the Building and Perth Podcast. If you're a property investor or you're curious about investing in property in Western Australia, this is the podcast for you. The reason for that is we're not going to hold back. We're not going to sugarcoat things. We're certainly not going to bullshit you. And we're going to exploit everything that you need to know. There's a lot of negative press at the moment in WA regarding building, and it doesn't have to be. So what we're going to do is help you navigate through that bullshit and create your wealth free of charge. We're just giving you this information. Every month we're going to have special guests on who are industry professionals, and then we're going to release an episode every single Monday. So you're not going to miss anything. So please stay tuned, like, subscribe so you never miss anything, and enjoy. Hello, and welcome back to the Building and Perth Podcast, episode 2, season 2. So what I want to talk about today, team, is different build methods used in Western Australia. So this is quite a hot topic at the moment, especially with those customers going through lengthy build times with some of the bigger builders, such as BGC and the ABN group and whatever else. Yeah, so look, we're just going to unpack. There's a few different methods of construction. There's actually loads, but the most popular ones, I guess, in WA, we're going to explore. So straight off the bat, we'll go into the fan favourite, WA's one and only double brick. Now, I've got a few different facts and figures here in front of me, which I'm just going to read out. So WA is the only state, I guess, in Australia that uses double brick so much. So just a fun fact, a sample of the framing material used in construction in detached residential houses across Australia, 2022, so last year. 76% of homes in Western Australia are double brick, as opposed to South Australia, there's 2%. Queensland, there's 1% of homes are double brick. Victoria, there's 5%, and New South Wales, there's 2%. So you can see we are so different over here compared to the rest of Australia when it comes to our method of construction. So 76% of homes are built in double brick. Now, I'd like to see the facts on that as of next year. There's so much more timber frame and brick veneer even builds going up, and light gauge steel. So I'm sure that will drop increasingly. As you can see, a lot of brick veneer homes are coming up now, a lot more popular these days. So anyway, timber frame in New South Wales is 82%, Victoria 82%, Queensland 81%, South Australia 85%. Sorry, Northern Territory, you don't get a say on this graph, unfortunately. But yeah, so you can see the difference. 85% of homes across the other states are timber frame, so it leaves 15%, and yeah, sub 5% for double brick, and the rest are brick veneer. So timber frame by far the more popular choice in every other state in Australia, except wait a while, Western Australia. Now, obviously, there's reasons for that. And one of the main reasons is a marketing campaign back in the 80s by Midland Brick, and it basically brainwashed everyone in WA to think that double brick is best. The soil conditions here obviously support double brick, or helps double brick, unlike the soil conditions in every other state. But yeah, that's just, I guess, one of the benefits. That marketing campaign really pushed double brick. If you think about prior to the 80s, places like Leederville and Fremantle and stuff like that, a lot of these houses are timber frame, still standing. Anyway, we'll get to that. So double brick, by far the superior choice in WA at the moment. I think that's changing ever inevitable. It's going to change, and it's going to be more balanced like the rest of Australia. Even the rest of the world is not a popular choice. It's only in WA. It's double brick. So we'll start with double brick anyway, since we're on it. Some of the pros when it comes to double brick are the acoustic values. Obviously, it's high density product. There's 2 layers of brick. So the acoustic value, the sound value is really good in double brick. It's a very durable material. Bricks, they're not going to disappear or crumble anytime soon. There's absolutely no maintenance if you choose a face brick construction rather than a render. If it does render, there's a bit of TLC needed, but if you go face brick throughout, there's no maintenance, which is massive for investors. No termites or vermin are going to get into the cavity and chew through the bricks and stuff like that. Bit of a pain in the bum when it comes to other methods of construction. Fire resistant is extremely durable when it comes to fires. The strength, no question, a brick's stronger than nearly any other material that there is, other than concrete, I would say. And if you like that brick look, a lot of people enjoy that sort of brick look. Double brick obviously gives you that. So there's some of the pros for double brick. Now, some of the cons. Reduced internal floor space. Yeah, 100%. There's a cavity and there's another brick, then there's a floating set. You're losing, what's that? 90, 50, 140, up to 160 mil around the perimeter of your home, which is, as blocks are getting smaller, that's a good few square meters when you calculate it around the full perimeter of your house that you're losing just by the build method. People don't think about that one. Yeah, design, it's hard. You can't really be too clever with a double brick construction. They're just basically straight walls, It's a lot harder to have curvature or any sort of architectural big open spaces due to a double brick construction mostly is followed by a stick frame construction in the roof, which basically means that roof is propped up off the bricks. You can change that obviously and go to a truss design if you want open plan living, but you are limited to what you can do with double brick for sure, especially large openings, lintels and stuff like that. You have to start engaging a lot of heavy gauge steel and lintels and whatever else. A negative, it's not a reusable material, I guess, unlike a timber manufacturing industry. Timber trees obviously regrow. Double brick, it literally, you dig it out of the ground and that's it. Social housing, support delivery of community and social housing. I think that really comes to the speed, which we'll go to next. Obviously, the lengthy construction time. So a double brick house pre-boom should take 10 months. At the moment, it's taken, some builders are plus 2 years, 3 years for a double story, which is just insane. These aren't any architectural designed houses. These are standard 4 3x2s. And yeah, they're just taking so long. The method of construction, goes without saying, is the longest. A few reasons for that. When you pour your slab, you've got to let it cure for a certain amount of time, depending on the temperature at the time of pour. Concrete forever hardens. So with double brick, you don't want to be pouring it and then putting bricks on it, the next week. You've got to let it sit there for 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, depending on the climate that we're in at the moment, if it's winter or summer. And then, goes without saying, it takes longer to lay bricks. Simple as that. They're heavy. You need labourers. You need to mix mud. It takes a long time. Your standard 4x2 house should take 2-3 weeks with a reasonable sized team, but it can take 6 to 8 weeks with a smaller team. Don't even start on double story. It is extortionate to build a double brick home that's double story these days. There's a lack of scaffolding available in WA at the moment. That's one of the big pushes, unfortunately. The longer the scaffold's on hire, the more the builder's going to charge you, essentially. There's no two ways about it. Getting bricks up to the top story and having hoists and mixing mud downstairs where the sand is, then chucking it on a wheelbarrow, hoisting it up. It just takes a long time. So the speed of construction with double brick is by far the worst. Energy ratings, not very good. If you build a double brick base house and don't add any other insulation in it, you're lucky to achieve 5 stars. You can put some insulation into the cavity, which helps it increase a little bit, but still it's not very good. You'll probably achieve 5.5 stars. There's so many things that come to that. There's windows and if you've got insulation under your slab and whatnot. But generally speaking, how the project builders build, it's pretty rubbish for energy. Meaning, what that means basically is you've got to have that air conditioner on flat out in summer and flat out in winter. There's some of the pros and cons. Gauge steel. So this is hugely popular. ABN Group are engaging with Centurion as the prime group. Summit have their own steel brand. So they're just 3 of the bigger builders in Perth that choose to go light gauge steel construction. There's a few pros with light gauge steel. Obviously, the speed of construction only takes a day to build the walls as opposed to 4 or 5 weeks with double brick. There's no real curing time. You can build on these things 2 or 3 days after the slab's poured. So, in 4 days after the slab's poured, your house can be erected. It should only take 3-4 days to do the roof. So 2 weeks basically from slab down, your roof's on, where double brick, they're still getting around the perimeter of the house, So the speed of light gauge steel is amazing. You don't really need to be a tradie to install it. Some builders actually get, a carpenter to go and set it out, which means chalk line the slab, and anyone can literally install this stuff. You stand it up, you bolt it to the ground and brace it. That's really good, Bricklaying's hard. Bricklaying's a hard job. It's physical and you've got to have a bit about you. And installing this sort of light frame steel, it's pre-made off-site in a factory. You can't really mess it up, to be honest, which is good because then your labor pool for people to install is far greater. You don't have to be a carpenter. Normally a carpenter would have a couple of laborers or apprentices and that would be suffice. and the speed doesn't diminish. So yeah, that's a massive pro, I guess. It's super accurate. These things are cut with machines in factories that are to 0.5 mm accurate. So if the slab's good, which it should be, and if it's not, you can always pack up the bottom. You can pack the bottom of it so that it's level. But these things are super straight. There's no sort of kinks and dents and bumps in it. If you look down the side of a light gauge steel home, it should be laser straight, right? More than bricklayer, more than timber frame, and more than anything, basically, because you're using machine technology to engage that it's bang on straight. So yeah, another big pro for long runs, it should be laser straight. Now, some cons. We buy it from China. It's ridiculous. We mine steel here, or iron ore, and we sell it to China, then we buy it back off them. I don't know why. I'm a builder. I'm not into mining and stuff like that, but it doesn't make sense. We've got natural resources here in WA that we should use, and we don't. We literally buy it from China. So I don't see that as a pro for anything, really. The noise, steel makes noise. Like, yeah, you could be sitting in bed one night, and as the heat or it cools down at night time, you'll hear squeaking. Screws don't necessarily turn as much, but yeah, you definitely hear pops, bangs, and stuff like that. It is a squeaky material still. It's not nice. It's not pleasant. Don't get me wrong, this isn't all day, but occasionally you could just be in there and you hear a pop, and I don't know, it's just the nature of using steel framing, unfortunately. It's not easy to work with, steel. I've done about 15 homes in steel before, constructing them together on site when it's hot. The steel gets hot, simple as that. You have to wear gloves, you burn yourself. It's not very user friendly. And then in winter, obviously, you can't be on the roof, you can't even be on the walls walking when it's wet. It becomes slippy. Cold in the winter, it's not a very thermal product. Yeah, so there are some of the negatives of steel, but still good. Brick veneer is obviously a mixture of both. Brick veneer can be timber or steel in the internal, with brick going around the outside. Now, that's pretty popular. In WA, it's becoming more and more popular. Not as much in the rest of the country. So 14% of homes constructed in brick veneer in New South Wales, 11% in Victoria, 18% in Queensland, 13% South Australia, 12% in WA. I think the WA one's going to rise from 12% minimum to 30%, maybe 40%. Yeah, the last 18 months, it is phenomenal how much more brick veneer homes are getting built, which is great. It's good. It takes some of the stress off the bricklayers. There's only like 8,000 bricklayers in WA, and we've got 22,000 homes to construct. So based on a 76% margin of double brick, there's just not enough brickies. That's why houses are taking so long. A lot of builders are now going to alternative methods like brick veneer and timber to combat the shortage of trades available in WA. So it's really good to see brick veneer is getting what it deserves, I guess. Timber framing, I am biased. I'm a chippy by trade, so I think it's the best, but just some of the pros, I guess, of timber framing. Durability. Timber frames are resistant to the decay and insect attacks, making them long-lasting. Like I said, we'll just go back to Leaderville and Subiaco and Fremantle, Dunsborough. All these old houses are still standing in timber frame. That's a good point because, a lot of clients may ask me, what about white ants and stuff like that? Back in the day when we used to build at a Jarrah, it was perfect for white ants and vermin and stuff like that. Now with the treated material that we use, treated pine, you don't really get any issues with that. As long as you do your correct sort of installation and you put your barriers in the correct place, there should be a 50-year guarantee warranty against old termites and stuff like that. Timber is a superior insulation. It's a natural insulation properties, You don't need aircon in a timber framed house. If you think of it the way I was describing steel, in summer it's hot and in winter it's freezing cold. Timber stays the same temperature all year round, essentially. It's easy to work with. There's a lot of design flexibility with timber. You can allow arches, or you can have curvature walls or whatever. You can have big open plan areas. A lot more of the high-end quality homes and architecturally designed homes are built out of timber for this reason. Easy to build, similar to steel frame. You do need a chippy, obviously, but you can get timber frame prefabbed off-site. So what that means is, same as the steel, they come pre-made on the back of a truck. They get dumped at the front, and then you stand them up. It's literally like Lego. So same thing. Once a slab goes down, you can start building on a slab 2 days after. So day one, you chalk it out. Day two, you actually start building the walls. Day three, you start building the roof. Probably by day 6 or 7, your whole house is constructed. You can chuck the windows in, and so similar to the steel frame that I spoke about, 2 weeks pretty much from slab down, your house should be pretty much looking like a house, which is good. Eco-friendly, it's a renewable resource, it's recycled, it's sustainable, it's environmental friendly, it keeps a lot of people employed. We've got so many forestries in WA. We actually supply a lot of timber to our eastern states for that reason. So it keeps a lot of people employed. But obviously, as a tree gets cut, 2 more get planted. So it's very friendly for the environment, very greeny. But it's sustainable. It's never going to go out of fashion, timber frame, unfortunately, for you WA people that hate it. Reduce construction waste. This is a good one. As a builder myself, I choose to build in timber frame. A lot of double brick homes, at the end of the job or even after the brickies are finished, there's sand left over, there's cement bags fucking flying about everywhere. And there's always bricks. There's always just loads of bricks available, just lying about. Normally the brickie will chuck them in a pile and a bobcat will come in, pick all them up, these brand new bricks that have never been used before, and just chuck them straight in a skip bin and waste all that material. Prefab construction, it's literally every bit of timber you need is on site. You bring in extra timber for bracing the walls and keeping them straight. But other than that, there's no wastage. So timber frame prefab costs more than a stick construction, which is when you build them from a pile of sticks from start to finish, which is really good if you've got different heights and, architecturally designed, then it's man-made on site. So you can, if the slab's out or whatever, you can adjust things accordingly. But reducing waste on site is huge. I don't know if you're building a house at the moment or you've even just drove through a neighborhood of a new construction site. There is just so much waste. It is unbelievable. It's like those monkeys doing takeoffs for these project builders, essentially, because, that's what it feels like. I'm not saying they're monkeys, but there's just always waste. Every part of a build, there's so much waste, and the client's paying for that, essentially. So, a prefab system eliminates a lot of waste. Obviously, with only 7,500 brickies in WA, I mean, there's probably 8,000 at the moment pretending they're brickies, but the number that I've got in front of me is 7,500 brickies. It just helps with that labour shortage, with houses taking up to 2 years, changing to timber frame construction. There's readily made carpenters. There's lots of chippies available. Again, biased. It's the most superior trade. You have to be on your toes the most. You have to think the most, but it's going to help with these long build times, changing over to light gauge steel or timber framing. There is a huge support with timber framing when it comes to community and social housing. So we have a bit of a homeless shortage here in Perth, nowhere near as bad as other states, but generally speaking, the government will want these houses to be built out of timber. They don't ever sort of request them to be double brick, purely because when these type of people go in and sometimes mess up and damage the house and kick the walls and damage stuff and rip the kitchens out, which unfortunately happens, they take advantage of the government's good nature. It's far easier to send people in to renovate a timber frame house than a double brick house. It's far more flexibility in what you can do, and the speed to actually patch something up, or there's a water leak in the wall and access it. They're all pros to timber framing. Support timber local manufacturing. I said that before. It keeps thousands of people in job, and its adaptability. Timber homes can be easily modified over time. So how I started 15, 16 years ago as a chippy, came out my apprenticeship, I started getting into renovations. 80% of renovations, they would say, I want to knock that wall down and move the kitchen over here. You just can't do it. The way double brick homes and stick roofs are constructed in WA, a lot of these walls are load bearing. You can't just knock out a wall or open a door here and there. Like it's a lot harder to do when a double brick construction. With a timber frame construction that's prefabbed with a truss design, you can knock down all the internal walls. It actually is all supported by the external walls. So it makes renovations and stuff like that really easy. People that watch the block, you'll notice it's always timber frame. You can really do a lot of renovations when it comes to timber frame. So when it comes to selling in the future, or upsizing, downsizing, or just renovations or changing things, it's just a lot easier. So they're your 3 main styles and methods of construction here in WA. There are a few others which we'll touch on. SIPS panels. SIPs are great. It's like a compressed chipboard with a polystyrene insert with chipboard on the outside as well, or the other side. And it's kind of like a sandwich panel. And I don't know if you can see this, but they can kind of interlock like that. Brilliant. These things can span up to 9 meters depending on the thickness of them, which means you can have beautiful big skillion roofs and raked ceilings, and very good. Thermal qualities are insane. They can get up to 9-star, which is it's the way it's going to go. Eventually we are going to have to, well, as of now, actually, builders are no longer allowed to use a SEP system, which is what the project builders use. They basically build under quality homes, sign a bit of paper that gets it signed off to meet 5-star energy requirements. Now we have to build 6-star energy homes. In Melbourne, it's 7-star energy homes, and it's only going to keep increasing. So SIPs is massive. It does come at a cost, but again, architecturally designed homes and $1 million plus homes, SIPs is definitely something we should consider. Tilt panel construction, I've not seen a lot of these, 5 or something like that. Tilt panels is what your fire stations are built out of, your petrol stations. They can be used for residential construction, but mostly sit in the commercial space. Tilt panels are big precast formed concrete slabs that get lifted up and installed with a crane. It can be really quick. There's so many pros to it. I guess the space of residential construction doesn't really allow it as much, but there is an option there for tilt panel construction. A lot of offices, like the one I'm in just now, is all tilt panel construction around the perimeter, and then internal will either be steel or timber partition walls. Finally, modular homes. I think these are amazing. These modular homes get built. I've got a good mate of mine, Ian Nichol, that works down at Complete Transportables. These are great for short-term accommodation, schools. A lot of modular homes modular buildings are used for schools, up in the mines, your base camp, your wet mess, your offices and stuff like that. These things can get prefabbed down here in Perth, put on a truck, drove up, and they just get screwed together. They're brilliant. They're really good. There's not really a negative to them. They're a lot cheaper. It doesn't sort of fit in with the eye of, when you drive through a new estate and you look at these beautiful houses with nice elevations, and then you plunk a modular home. It's a bit more steely feeling. Normally they're cladded in like your roof sheeting, your colorbond sheeting and stuff. However, that doesn't mean you have to. You can get inventive with these. But modular homes are great, especially for rural jobs. A lot of people get them built off-site and then, like I said, put on a truck and delivered, and bang, it's there, it's installed. As long as your prelay, your electrical, your plumbing, your septics, if needed, are all installed prior. Modular homes are a great alternative method that people do overlook. We're looking at building 36 homes down in Bremer Bay, hopefully end of September. They're all modular homes, and they're so cheap. You can't even come close to the price of trying to construct these things as a normal residential build. But given the location and what we're going to use these for, Airbnbs, modular homes are perfect. So that is the majority of the building methods. I would love to see more. I would love people to give me some feedback on anything that I've missed. These are the most popular in Western Australia, but never say never. There's always new and inventive ways of building, and it's really, really something I think in WA we have to learn about is experiment. Don't just stick to double brick, It's not always like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. It is broke because the energy ratings are now at a higher level. We do have to fix it. Yeah, so that's it for today's podcast, guys. Hopefully you got something out of that. In short, if I was to rate them, I would go number 1, timber, number 2, brick veneer with timber, number 3, steel, number 4, SIPS panels, number 5, modular homes, number 6, double brick. Yeah, double brick's not my preference, but I know you guys love it here in WA, so do your research. Any questions at all, feel free to PM me, send me an email. But until then, like and subscribe, and tune in next time. Cheers, guys.